Last year, Andy Reynolds became only the second person to win the non-pro Snafflebit Futurity 3 times. A fourth title, however, will be hard to come by with past champions like Lori Ward, Dima Paul, and Joanne Carollo ready to challenge her. The 3-year-olds compete for the National Rein Cowhorse Association's Snafflebit Futurity next on AQHA's Best of the West. Welcome to Reno, Nevada, and one of the toughest competitions in the Wild West, the Snafflebit Futurity, the non-pro final. Hi everybody, I'm Jeff Metters, with me CJ Murphy. The American Quarter Horse has built its reputation on versatility, and CJ, that may be best displayed in this Snafflebit Futurity.
Oh, absolutely, Jeff. You've got, events that involve cattle. You start out with the herd work, and then you move to the rein work, which really shows those horses big stops and fast turnarounds. And then you move on to the fence work, which probably is the most difficult event on a horse.
And you might be wondering, what is a snaffle bit? Well, it's just part of the NRCHA tradition.
Oh, absolutely. It's a simple bit that everybody starts their horses out as a 2-year-old. Then they move on to the hackamore, then the 2-rein, then the bridle. It's the process of finishing a horse in the NRCHA, and it's just a tradition that everybody really believes in.
First to work, Miss Colonel's Prize, ridden by Winston Moore, a horse that he owns along with Ginger Moore. 219 in the prelims, good score. You'd like to probably duplicate that, maybe a little bit better here, CJ, in the finals.
Starting out here in the cutting, Jeff, you basically take your time, pick your cows out, and then just ease in there and try to get that cow you're looking for cut. That's so important to get the cow you're looking for right off the bat.
A little difference from the cutting events that we'll see the NCHA. You can rein the horse here. Does that make it harder or easier?
It makes it a little bit easier because you can help those horses along. You don't have to just hang them out to dry and hope they come back on their own. You're able to set them up a little better. And, these 3-year-olds, this is one of the most grueling events because you're doing the cut, and you're doing the rein work, you're doing the fence work, and you don't always have as much time to spend on one event as, the guys that do just the cutting or just the reining are allowed to do.
Solid first cow, back to the herd. Talk a little bit about the Snafflebit tradition out here. It's kind of an age-old tradition, and these guys really know how to prepare their horses.
Yeah, this event is one of the most difficult to prepare for. Having to cover all 3 of those events at once and train throughout. These guys are starting on these horses as, young 2-year-olds, and they take their time, work through it. You've got 2 cow events and then also the reining event, and, you're pretty much on those horses coming into the Snafflebit the few months beforehand. You're on them 2-3 times a day, and so you get to know your horse really well, and you get to know what they've got inside of them.
Pretty good action there with that second cow.
This is a really good cow. Winston's doing a good job getting everything cut right. His help's setting him up really well, and now he's just got to get one more good cut, and he'll be sitting really, really well.
Clock is not a factor here. You can afford to be somewhat patient.
That gives you a little more time. When you go into that herd with the needing to get one more cut left with 10 seconds left, it's kind of a rush, and sometimes that backfires on you. But Winston, he's got one out there he wants. Now it's just a matter of getting that second one split away from it. Had a clean cut there. Looking strong. This little horse gets back and forth really, really well.
Miss Colonel's Prize and Winston Moore, not quite as strong as they were in the prelims. 217 here, 219 in the prelims, but still very much in the thick of things. And you get back to that second cow, that's where he made the most hay.
Oh, absolutely. Look at this horse get on its hocks and get back and forth across there. I mean, Winston's helping her a little bit, and everything's looking really, really strong.
So Winston will move on now to the rein work with a 217, and in rides Dima Paul, Masters New Fox. And the Paul's very strong out there in Scottsdale, Arizona, reining, working cow horse. They can do it all.
Yeah, this family, several of the riders we're going to see today are very, very steeped in tradition as it comes to a family event, and Dima is no different. She's married to a professional horse trainer, Jim Paul, and then has 2 stepsons that are both professional horse trainers, Jimmy Paul and Randy Paul. And pretty much the whole family's successful. So it makes for a pretty interesting, if they ever had a little family horse show against each other, it'd be a pretty tough battle.
Well, she's tough in this event. She's won it twice. She won it in 2000, won it in 2004. Chasing a 3rd title right here.
And Dima, she's a great hand. She's strong in all 3 events. Reads cows really, really well. And you know what? The open guys, they get a little worried when they see Dima and Annie riding in the pen, because they give them those two give them a run for their money in the open events as well.
How important is the experience factor in a final like this?
You know, it plays a big role. Anytime you get into the finals, it's kind of icing on the cake, but you say that and then you get into the pen, that final run, and you just start thinking, you know, wow, I'm in the finals. Then you try to do a little too much sometimes, and Dima, she's smart. She takes her time, sets things up, never ever tries to overdo what she knows she's able to do, and so that always allows her to stay consistent. If you don't beat yourself, you'll end up winning a lot more.
Got some work done with that first cow. Deep cut now chasing the second cow.
Taking that deep of a cut with the time she's got left, most likely she'll stay on this cow till the end of it. If this turns out to be a good cow, she can get it cut well and get to rolling, and if that cow gets to run back and forth across that pen too much, she may try to get off of it and get another cow real quick before the end of the run.
Still about 20 seconds left on the clock and still hanging with this cow.
This pen is a pretty large pen, so when you're in the cut and get to moving back and forth there in the herd work, if you get one that runs really, really hard back and forth, it's a little scary, you know, and as a competitor and even as a spectator, I mean, when those cows get to moving that hard back and forth across there, it makes it difficult to mark those big scores.
Well, she did work 3 cows, had a volunteer there at the end. 217 the score for Masters New Fox and Dima Paul. And, you know, CJ, you look back at that run, probably the strongest cow was that first cow.
Oh, absolutely. Dima's horse getting down really well right there. You watch Dima, she's hardly having to help that horse at all, and everything looks really strong there.
17.5 in the prelims, comes back with a 17 in the final. Off and running here in Reno, Nevada. The non-pro final at the Snaffle Bit Futurity. Just getting started on AQHA's Best of the West. More when we come back. Back for AQHA's Best of the West coverage of the Snaffle Bit Futurity, the non-pro final. And the ladies have a reason to watch here in the Open. Only Sandy Collier made the final. Not the case in the non-pros. Dominated by the ladies, and ladies like Annie Reynolds, who gets set on QR Powderific. 3-time winner and defending champion, and Annie back to defend her title.
This is a nice little stallion. It showed strong in the prelims, and, you know, coming into this finals, I mean, these horses are tired. They've been showing a lot, and this horse looks like it's still got a lot of pep in it.
Talk about experience. Annie has it. She won this event the first time in 1998 on Magicalina. Came back and won on Legendary Colonel in 2003. Picked up that 3rd title last year. And, you know, when you get into the Snaffle Bit crowd, there are some intimidating forces in there. And on the non-pro side of things, Annie definitely fits that bill.
Oh, absolutely. She, you know, shows really, really strong. And on this run here, you look at her horse. I mean, he's getting down, not wanting to get away from that cow too far, and just looking really cowy.
She only marked a 215 in the prelims. You know, she'd like to build on that considerably here in the finals.
Now, watching that horse, you'll see she's having to drive him up out of that herd. You watch when he gets down in front of that cow, he's wanting to suck back and just keep moving back. And so that's one of the tough things when you're showing here. You have to keep moving that horse forward. And if she keeps drawing these good cows, she'll be all right.
Cow turns away, and that's her chance to get off of him and head back to the herd for cow number 2. But a very strong first cow there for Annie Reynolds. A lot of color in this herd. You know, it makes it a little easier to get an eye on a cow that you want to cut and find him at a moment's notice.
Oh, absolutely. I have nightmares of the herd work, waking up in the middle of the night having dreams of an all-black herd. I would just be completely lost.
It happens.
But this little horse, he gets down good and gets across. I mean, he just looks really, really pretty right there. Now this cow's running a little bit more, and that makes it tough. She'll probably be looking for a place to get off here pretty quick.
Now, this horse was a late acquisition for her, and you can see why she bought him. He's got some cow and very flashy in the pen.
Just such a pretty, a pretty horse, and right when he rides in the pen, you notice him, and that's always a huge advantage when you're going into the show pen to show. Great way to finish it. Horse looked really, really pretty right there.
218 for QR Powderific and Annie Reynolds, building on that 215 that they had in the prelims, and Annie did a great job of getting this horse shown.
This horse is such a strong horse. You watch when he comes across there and gets down, he pushes so hard out of there.
As we mentioned, she's got a very short history with this horse.
I haven't had him real long. I just bought him about a month ago. A friend of mine was training MD Craig, and I could just tell he was really talented, and I asked Dee about him, and he told me that people wanted to sell him, so I bought him, and I just love him. I just can tell that, he's got the talent and the ability to win at this event and the events coming up.
Girl power continues. Dima Paul did well. Annie Reynolds did well, and here comes Lori Ward. She was the 2002 champion. Kiss Me a Little as the horse. Her husband John Ward. She's very steeped in the tradition, really on both sides now.
Oh, absolutely. Her father is Ronnie Richards, who is a NRCHA Hall of Fame member and a great showman himself. And, she's been around it since she was about 2 feet tall. So it's kind of an advantage for her getting in that show pen. She's been at probably every snaffle bit that they've had. And, having that experience, more or less just even getting to watch or show, is a huge advantage coming into the non-pro finals.
A deep cut, very, very patient here in terms of getting her first cow pushed out there.
And John, he's really strong training, cutting horses and such, so that's a good advantage for Lori, to have somebody with that experience and that knowledge helping you out.
Her late father-in-law, Greg Ward, one of the legends in the business.
Oh, absolutely. This little horse is getting out and making some really, really pretty moves. You watch that horse's nose stays even with that cow's nose pretty much the whole time during this run, and that's what you're looking for.
214 for her in the preliminaries. Do you save a little bit in there? Do you try to save a little bit for the final, or do you go all out?
One of the big problems anytime you've got cattle involved, you can't safety up. You've got to let it all hang out every time you show, and if you try to be safe, usually it ends up backfiring on you. And you'll see he'll be one of her herd help in here. I don't know exactly where he's at, but he'll be over there barking orders to her while she's trying to get her cows picked out.
I'm sure she's listening.
Well, every wife listens to their husbands, of course.
You can see the clock, a little bit less than 17 seconds remaining now.
This little horse, he's having a strong run here. Everything's been smooth, pretty, had good cuts. There's nothing you can really penalize this run for whatsoever.
She was the strongest after the prelims with a 647.5 total. Right back strong in the finals, 218.5 for Lori Ward and Kiss Me a Little, and by a half point, she has taken the lead. So Lori Ward's on top, Annie Reynolds second, Dima Paul is third. It's ladies sitting 1, 2, 3 after the herd work. When we come back, we'll change gears as we move on to the reining, and the pressure builds at the Snaffle Bit Futurity and the non-pro final. Back at AQHA's Best of the West coverage of the Snaffle Bid Futurity, the non-pro final from Reno, Nevada. Lots to do and see other than the competition in the arena. The ladies are dominating right now, sitting 1, 2, 3 after the herd work. We'll see if Justin Wright and Smart Prize can change that a little bit right here as we get underway in the reining.
And the reining is such a precise event. You look at Justin here, running really pretty big, fast circles, and you're going to keep that speed built up and really showing that your horse can hold the ground, and then come in there to that small slow. That horse looks controlled, very well contained, and just being really, really smooth right there.
Only event of the 3 at the Snaffle Bid Futurity that does not involve a cow, but that doesn't really mean things get easier.
No, not necessarily. It's one of the ones that you can control a little bit more, and you can get prepared for it a little bit more, but it doesn't always work out. A lot of these horses don't ever show in a pen this large in an indoor pen, and a lot of times you get those horses in there and it's a little different for them, and it makes it a little harder on them.
Big pen like this really change how you approach these circles?
Yeah, the whole thing is as soon as you get done with the rein work, you have to come back and do your fence work, and if you ask your horse for everything he's got in those circles, when it comes time to go down the fence, you don't have a whole lot of horse left, so you need to kind of keep a little bit held back for that fence work, because that, everything comes down to the fence work here, and that's one of the major things. You need to have enough horse left to get down that fence both ways. Justin's looking really strong right here. Circles are pretty both ways. He's going to come into his second lead change right here. Smooth, real pretty. Justin's giving all of us guys hopes against the tough girls at this event, so it's something we've all got to pull for.
Tied for the highest mark in the prelims on Smart Prize with a 2:18.5. First big sliding stop.
Real pretty.
Aggressive on those turnarounds.
Yet very smooth, very correct. Stopped on, right on the spot where he was supposed to. You got to plus that. Another real pretty stop. That horse gets on his butt but stays very collected and looks really pretty doing it.
Final sliding stop and a back up. That's all that's left.
Well, Justin here, he made us boys proud. Made a good run, giving those girls something to shoot for right off the bat, and as smooth and as pretty as you can get right there.
2:17, not quite as strong as that 2:18.5 in the prelims, but good enough to keep him in the mix of things. And for Justin Wright, Smart Prize has turned out to be a somewhat pleasant surprise for him in the finals.
He's a horse that I had kind of as a backup horse. I had a really good one, yet hurt, and just started coming on. I haven't shown him before. Most of them been to the pre-30s, and I haven't shown him yet, and he's been really good. He's a horse that we raised there at the house.
QR Powderific now, and Annie Reynolds in second place after the herd work, and of course Annie is the defending champion. Won last year on More Magic Please, and in great shape to repeat as champion and maybe pick up her 4th Snaffle Bid Futurity title.
And Annie, she's really strong in the rein work as well. There's several of these non-pros here today that, they're strong in all 3 events, which is a huge advantage coming in there. If you don't have a weakness, it makes it a little easier to get through each of these. This little horse, Annie's got him really collected, looking pretty, You notice she's running her circles aggressively, but not all out, and keeping a little bit left over. Annie's a showman. She's shown for years. She knows how to prepare. She knows how to show, and she knows what she needs to save to get through this event consistently. Nice flying lead change there. Jeff, honestly, I'd be scared to show against this woman.
She has a great resume.
Annie was also, as a non-pro, was able to win second at the World's Greatest Horseman competition. And anytime you're doing that, she's showing the ability to rope, and just a talented person every which way. And looking here, this little horse got his ears forward, looking aggressive, and you can't ask for a whole lot more out of these 3-year-olds.
A half point out of the lead coming into the reining work. Loses her hat there on the lead change.
But luckily, unlike barrel racing, it's not a penalty, so the main goal is not to run it over on your rundowns and your stops.
First big sliding stop coming up now.
Real pretty right there. In this big arena, you want to start out fairly slow and build up to that stop all the way there. You don't want to be running at, full speed when you leave that end. So it's a steady build to set up that stop. You want to keep your horse's shoulders picked up to where they can really get their hind end in the ground well. Real pretty turnaround there for Annie. Coming into the second stop, see that steady build. Another smooth stop. Really pretty turnaround right there. And in the same aspect that you set your rundowns up by starting out smooth and adding speed to it, you do the same in your turnarounds. And you notice that when she's turning around, she'll start out step, and then add some speed to it.
The goal for her here had to be just don't make any mistakes. Just leave yourself, right there in a good stalking position.
Absolutely. Anytime you show in the rein work, one of your main goals is not to have any penalty points. And, if you can do that and stay consistent, it gives you a chance to win, and that's what you want to do.
218 in the herd work, 217 in the reining, 435 total. When we come back, the leader, Lori Ward on Kiss Me a Little. Back at AQHA's Best of the West coverage of the Snaffle Bit Futurity, the non-pro final, there's John Ward. He won the Open title in 1994 on Masteroni, and that is his wife, Lori Ward, trying to win another non-pro title on Kiss Me a Little. And John just won the NRCHA Open Bridal Spectacular on the sire of this horse, Smart Little Pepinick. And, it's got to be tough on husband or wife when your spouse is in the arena. You're a little bit out of touch. You can't help them, but you try to do all you can.
And one thing I've noticed about horse trainers, Jeff, is the fact that they're a little bit controlling. And so anytime they're outside of the arena and not being able to make you do what they want you to do, it's real hard on them to sit there and watch it. But Lori, she's a good showman in the reining, running really smooth pattern here. And, that's one thing that, having a husband or a wife as your horse trainer, that's kind of an advantage because you get to see some insights that a lot of non-pros don't. So it's a strong thing to be able to do that. And having family members to show myself, I've learned a lot just by watching. Even if I don't compete in certain events, I can pick up things by just seeing it and seeing how they train for it. And that's one thing Lori's probably got the advantage for. She gets to watch John train those open horses when she's at home, and that just helps her more with her own horses.
She marked a 218.5 in the herd work. She had the lead coming into the reining by a half point. 216 in the prelims in her reined work.
And this little horse, you have to plus these circles because she's running nice big circles, with some speed. Then she comes in these small slows, got her reins fairly draped, and that little horse is just loping, like it wants to be out there. So, as a judge, you look at that and you say, hey, that horse likes what it's doing. Like Lori here, she looks really relaxed. The horse is loping along, not quite as fast as some of the other runs we've seen, but the little horse has a nice little short stride, and it really looks like it's covering some ground even when it's not going that fast.
Final lead change right there, and she'll set up her first sliding stop.
And you see them looking down that arena. What they're trying to do is they're trying to pick out where they want to stop. And, that's kind of like picking out your cows before the cut, and your trainer and you'll sit down and figure out where exactly you want to run down and make your stops at. Pretty strong stop right there. The horse hit on its front end a little bit right there. Real nice turnaround. Smooth, crossing over with its front feet smooth, and, stops right where you want to stop. Right here, building speed to that next stop. Right there, that was better than the first stop, a lot smoother. Now Lori's setting up for that turnaround. See how she'll start slow and then add speed. You want to stop dead on. If you go a quarter turn over either way, it's a big penalty point, and that's what, one of the things is stay out of that penalty box. Horse got in the ground really, really hard there. Lori's barely picking up on him, and that horse is backing up really, really fast. I mean, you got to plus that.
217, that matches the 217 of Annie Reynolds. She holds on to her half-point lead in the overall. Another look at that sliding stop right here, and for Lori Ward and Kiss Me a Little, they came into the reining hoping to not make any mistakes, and she walks away with a very solid run.
My horse felt just right there, really good. Stopped and turned, changed leads perfect. She just didn't do anything wrong. She was just right there for me the whole time, and I'm really happy with her. I knew it was good.
And now to Shannon McCarty on Rattle Genie Rattle. 218.